She slammed the metal gate so hard the chain sang right in front of my truck and shouted, "Turn around or I'm calling the cops," like she was announcing the weather and not trying to lock me out of my own life. Gravel crunched under my boots, the lake behind her glinting all calm and innocent. And there I was, standing in the middle of what felt like a bad country movie while 3 board members shuffled behind her like extras paid to look menacing. That first 3 sentences are the hook, and yes, it's real, and yes, it got ugly fast. 2 weeks earlier, Karen had been the kind of neighbor who smiles like it's a contract, warm on the surface, precise in the fine print. Now she's holding up a printed notice like it's a warrant chest out, eyes bright with righteous indignation. "This road is HOA property," she declared. "Residents voted this morning. You can't pass." She said it slow, savoring every syllable, because that's what bullies do. They tell the story the way they want everyone to believe it. I looked at the paper for a second and almost laughed, except she wasn't kidding. I live up past that gate. I've lived there 10 years. My cabin, my tools, my weird collection of broken lawn chairs, it's all up past that chain. "I live here," I said, calm on purpose because anger makes you sloppy. Karen leaned in like she was doing me a favor. "Not anymore," she whispered, no approval, no access. Then she turned and said it loud so everyone could hear. "If he crosses this gate, it's trespassing." Trespassing. On land I bought. The word hovered like a bad smell. A patrol SUV rolled up behind the locked gate. Not dramatic, just headlights and a bored cop who probably hoped this was a simple neighbor dispute. But Karen had practiced this speech. She rushed to the officer, all smiles and confidence. "Officer, this man is refusing to leave private HOA property. He's been warned." Her voice carried across the water like she'd done this before. The cop looked between us, polite and careful, and asked the obvious question. "Sir, do you own property beyond this gate?" Before I could answer, Karen cut in. Of course she would. He used to. Access rights were revoked this morning, confident flat like she controlled the law itself. The gate blocked the narrow road curving to the cabin, the only way in or out of that valley, and for a second I felt my chest tighten. The officer waited. It's one thing to be told you're wrong. It's another to watch a stranger try to rewrite the map. I let the silence do work for me. I looked past the officers to the long, low bridge that most people see and forget, a private bridge that in this story matters more than anyone would guess. Karen was sure she had me sure she'd won. I spoke slow and steady. "Officer, before anyone decides who can block roads, maybe someone should check who actually owns the bridge you drove across." Karen laughed loud and brittle. "Nice try," she said, but the officer didn't laugh. He glanced at the bridge, then back at the locked chain, then at me. She waved a folder thick with papers, sticky notes, highlighted lines like volume equals truth. "We voted legally," she told him. "We improved the area. One of her people even started to film, phones up, waiting for drama." I opened my truck door, reached in and pulled out a worn leather folder of my own. "I don't argue, I keep records." The officer walked closer. Karen tried to paint me as the aggressive one. "He's intimidating the board," she said. The man with the camera pressed record. I handed my folder to the officer. Inside, county-stamped maps, recorded easements, a title page with my name on it, and a seal loud enough to make a heartbeat skip. His eyebrows rose. His partner stepped forward, more interested now. Karen's smile flickered a tiny crack. "Those documents are outdated," she snapped reflexively and waved her own stack. "We have new filings." Confidence again. She wanted the paper to be real more than she wanted the truth. The officer read. The second page listed ownership, bridge ownership transferred 15 years ago. My name. For a moment, Karen had no line. The wind teased the chains behind her and someone in the crowd muttered. Karen tried to recover breath sharp, and then something else happened. A delivery truck slowed on the bridge behind the patrol car, then another car, then a line. Karen had shut the valley down for everyone. Residents, workers, tourists, because she wanted to keep me out. People climbed out of their vehicles, phones up, curious. "Temporary HOA enforcement," she announced like she was running a checkpoint. The mood changed. Curiosity turned to irritation. "You can't block the bridge," someone shouted. "I need to get to work." Phones recorded, witnesses multiplied. Karen, who'd been safe in her little story, started to sweat around the edges. That's when the attorney arrived. Black sedan briefcase, practice stride. Karen relaxed, smiled like a queen, And the lawyer handed papers to the officer with smooth confidence. Updated authority filings, he said. Filed yesterday. Emergency action due to a non-compliant resident. It was textbook bully brings backup. People murmur because the sudden presence of a suit makes the board's claim look official, and official scares people. Karen shot me a look like she'd just won. But I wasn't playing to win a popularity contest. I pulled my phone, showed drone shots and survey markers, fresh construction lines cutting across the edge of my property, fiber cable trenches running under the bridge, a private fiber line snaking across where no one had permission to build. The officer leaned in, then slowed. The attorney's posture changed from confident to curious. Phones in the crowd leaned closer. Someone said, trespassed, under their breath. You built a private fiber line across my land last month, I said. No easement, no permission, no notice. The attorney faltered. Karen's voice tried the old line, community infrastructure benefits everyone, which is the polite version of stealing. The officer handed my phone back and spoke to Karen with the kind of calm that ends arguments. Unauthorized construction on private land is a serious issue. On my land wouldn't get exposed. A survey on my land wouldn't get exposed. A survey team had come by 3 days earlier. They'd found survey markers and fresh trench lines. I'd filed complaints the minute I knew. Karen knew too, which is why she'd rushed to lock the gate, file emergency papers, call enforcement, all theater to keep me from seeing what was already there. Panic leaked into her smile. Her attorney tried reading the drone photos like they were a joke. The officer cleared his throat, and for the first time that afternoon, the tone shifted from who wields authority to who has the law on their side. The chain rattled like a cymbal in the wind. A radio crackled. Unit 12 County Supervisor en route regarding a possible fraud complaint filed this morning. The word fraud hangs in the air like thunder. Karen's strategy collapsed the way cheap plywood does in a windstorm. She had to choose double down and look guilty or back away and try to keep dignity. She chose the former, which only made the picture worse. Residents who'd been on the fence now whispered. They put a line under the bridge, right under the water. Cameras panned, zoomed, shared. Social proof is savage. Witnesses with phones magnify truth. Here's the part of the story that always feels good when you tell it. Not because I like to see people squirm, but because there's something satisfying about watching a bully's complicated lies unravel in plain sight. The officer turned the folder to the attorney. These filings were, yesterday county records don't update that fast. He handed back the attorney's papers and looked at Karen. Until ownership is verified, unlock this gate. Karen's face went through every color between smug and pale. Her phone buzzed. She spoke fast into it in an attempt to summon another person to help her save the story. But by then, the county supervisor was already rolling in, flagged down by the same survey team who'd been doing their job, checking property lines, recording the trespass, documenting the construction. The supervisor read the survey notes, saw the drone photos, and the word emergency filings looked flimsy beside recorded evidence of construction on private land. Justice in small towns is usually slow, procedural, and boring. This afternoon was none of those things. It was messy, loud, and immediate, the kind of public accountability that makes people sit up. Karen's plan was transactional papers, votes a gate. My defense was simple records and documentation. The kind of boring, tedious paperwork that bullies hope you don't care about. The officer asked her to unlock the chain. She hesitated long enough for the crowd to lean in, and then with the awful dignity of someone caught mid-argument, she stepped back and told one of her board members to open it. The gate swung wide. I walked through gravel crunching the lake like a stage set that had been waiting for the finale. I drove up to my cabin, opened the door, and retrieved the county survey packet I'd left on the table, the one with the recent notes about the unauthorized fiber line. It felt anticlimactic and perfect at the same time. Karen's HOA had tried to weaponize community rules, but they slipped on the one thing bullies never factor in: evidence. There's a lesson here. Not a lecture, but an observation you get when you scrape your knuckles on something and live to tell about it. Authority sounds convincing, but authority without documented right is a loud noise that fades under facts. People will believe whatever's loudest until someone shows them what's true. Keep your records. Get your surveys, know your title. It's not romance, it's survival. And yes, sometimes the system will take its sweet time or bend in ways that are unfair, but paperwork, witnesses, and calm persistence are better tools than anger or theatrics. And the ending satisfying. The county supervisor started a formal review. The officer left with copies of my documents. Karen's filings were flagged for verification, and the attorney who arrived with confidence spent the drive back to his car, looking at his phone with a face I won't forget. The crowd dispersed, some muttering in sympathy, some nodding like they'd learned something. Karma didn't have to be theatrical. It can be simple, a locked gate opened by the law. I walked back to the truck, the chain still clinking, and for a second I watched Karen gather her papers like a queen who'd lost a piece of her crown. She glanced at me, maybe angry, maybe embarrassed, and I felt that tiny satisfying flutter of seeing a bully's mask slip. But the real satisfaction was quieter, the knowledge that a surveyor's pen and a county seal could beat bluster, that a line on a map is louder than a loud voice. So what's the takeaway? Don't assume the person who shouts the loudest is right, because sometimes the loudest people are the most afraid. Keep records, know your title, and when it's worth fighting, fight with the quiet, tedious tools that actually win: documentation, legal filings, witnesses. And if you live in a place where boundaries mean everything, don't wait until a chain is around your road to check your paperwork. Now, I'll leave you with something to argue about at breakfast when a community group like an HOA tries to enforce rules that feel authoritative but clash with private property. Who should we trust? The group that says we represent the majority, or the single landowner with recorded title? Is neighborhood harmony worth bending the rules, or is enforcing rules without proof just thinly veiled power? Tell me what you think. And if you've ever had a gate slam between you and what's yours, share your story below. Like, comment, and tell me, was justice served? Or was it just a lucky day with good paperwork?
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.